So we keep hearing nobody wants to work anymore, everyone wants an easy life, and they don't want to put in effort at work, right? So there is some truth as to why people don't want to work anymore, because the work hours can be quite long. And there are 5 key reasons I'm going to explain in this video why working hard is for losers, why you need to take it easy at your day job and not get too stressful with working hard. The first reason why people don't want to work hard is because they don't want to deal with pointless mind games which exist even in job interviews, right? I've dealt with aggressive job interviews, and anyone who's new to the channel, I've worked in the finance industry and investment banking, sales and trading for over 10 years at Goldman's, HSBC, Morgan Stanley. I studied economics at LSE, and for some of these jobs and many others, there's very intense, multiple levels of interviews, 9 interviews, 10 interviews, 3-4 rounds of interviews. And there's lots of pointless mind games that get played at these interviews. And one of these is this example here. An employer invited 6 people for an interview at 7 a.m. They were all dressed and ready before the time. He told them to wait. And then by 3 p.m., 3 had left. By 6 p.m., he came and met only 2, and they got the job. So the whole point is there was this mind game getting played at this interview, which was basically to keep people waiting for the interview throughout the day, from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. So that's like 11 hours of waiting for a job interview. And the people who waited got the job. The test of the interview was patience. Now, this is the ridiculousness of the modern workplace environments. Now, this is an extreme example of a ridiculous interview, but these can exist in other avenues, other ways, right? You might be doing work that's completely pointless. It's a whole project. It takes up all your time. You have to work extra hours. And in the end, it's actually not really impacting anyone in a positive way. And it's not really having much impact on the company's ability to make money. Now, there's lots of different perspectives like this. So I just want you to kind of bear in mind when you are planning ahead for your life, what type of workplace you have to deal with. Because one reason people don't want to work hard is because of these pointless mind games. You have to either outsmart the mind games, tolerate the mind games until you make enough money and plan to leave. And you have to be able to navigate this type of toxic work environment.
Waiting all day. It's this nonsense. These high school bully power plays over people who are simply looking for work. This employer essentially wasted an entire day of 6 people's lives to test their patience without telling them, as if their ability to sit around for hours doing completely nothing is the top job qualification that matters.
So this is an important point. He has a similar view as myself. This is Josh Fluke. They want to see how much of a slave you are. That's what the whole point of the test, the patience test for this job interview. They want to see how desperate you are for the job, how much you need the job. Do you desperately seek the approval and validation of the manager? Is that the be all end all of your self-worth? And are you going to wait all day just for that job interview and just to get that job? So this is how they work, right? This exists not only in the job interviews, but your day-to-day work. Are you desperate to, dress the right way to speak and impress these people? Are you going to parrot their opinions and make sure everything you say is in alignment with whatever, typically in the workplace these days, liberal, feminist talking points there are? And it will be very disrespectful of your time. You have to respect the company's time and arrive on time and leave on time, or even leave late and do extra work if it benefits them. But they're not going to respect your time in a job interview. So it's completely ridiculous the way they treat you.
Culture that is fun, family-oriented, fast-paced, and rewarding. Red flag, red flag, red flag, red flag. Value culture above all else. So that means above your pay, above your dignity, humanity, and basically anything about you. Okay, so I found the actual job.
So this is important, right, to focus on before we move on, right? So when it comes to job descriptions, this is reason number 3, right? So point number 1, why is working hard for losers? Because you have to deal with pointless mind games in interviews. Point number 2, which I covered earlier, was the system wants to use you as a slave and kind of disrespect your time. So that's another reason why people don't want to work hard, and working hard is for losers. And then point number 3, if these job descriptions have too many red flags, and people are not going to work hard for these type of situations, right? When they have job descriptions that say fun, family orientated, fast-paced, rewarding. Firstly, your co-workers are not your family, and there's no such thing as a company that is a family, but they're going to try to gaslight you and try to brainwash you in terms of corporate Kool-Aid and want you to work like your co-workers are your friends, when it really is a ruthless, cutthroat environment. They want you to be in a fast-paced, they make it sound interesting, like, oh, it's a dynamic work environment. What that really means is work quite fast, get lots of work dumped on you last minute, and then you have to work quickly. And when they say rewarding, the only reward for the employee really is higher pay or a promotion that brings higher pay. They describe rewarding on job descriptions like, oh, you're doing some interesting work. But people aren't that interested in the work at the end of the day. They're interested in the money they're making. So it's not really that rewarding to be participating in these type of games at workplace. So these job descriptions have too many red flags. And then the other thing is around culture above all else. Now, what this means is follow the company rules at all else. And the company's culture could be complete garbage. As I say, this kind of cookie cutter mentality where they treat employees, grown adults, like their children, with these pointless team events and co-worker fun events that aren't fun. Is forced socialization. You have to force to hang around with your co-workers, maybe after work when you don't want to. And really, as an employee, what you should think about when you're working for a company is you should value your pay, your dignity, your self-respect, and your time. And that's your culture. You shouldn't think too much about the company culture. Impose your culture a bit, whether it's, having those respect for your timelines and your boundaries in terms of when you start and finish work, or your culture in terms of your personal values. Don't push that on others. But when this company's pushing the woke agenda on you, just say, on the basis of my race, religion, gender, mental health, I'm not going to participate in some of these woke ideas that they're pushing for you to support in their workplace environment. So value your culture over the company's culture in a sense.
Minded, culture-loving, hardworking, dedicated, empathetic, high-integrity, rock star, corporate simp to add to our crew. You will work harder than you ever have before. Ultimate team player. Basically, do what we say no matter what, and don't ask any questions about it. Amazing phone etiquette and comfortability. So be able to be yelled at by people who didn't want you to call them. Or maybe...
So, this is an important point here, right? So, when you have this type of wording, you'll work hard, be a team player. It just means doing other people's work. And I've worked at companies where I started working there. And if you're new to the channel, I've worked at places like Goldman's, HSBC, Morgan Stanley in finance, investment banking, sales and trading, and roles like that for over 10 years. And I won't mention which specific company I'm referring to in this example, but I've worked at companies where I picked up the slack for so many different team members on our kind of direct small team and our broader team when we have these team projects, updating company policies, doing additional training for sales and trading people, doing all this extra work. And then I wasn't getting paid anything extra. And I realized team workers weren't doing it and they would just delay things, do it at the last minute. They had a very low work ethic. And then after about a year and a half or 2 years of doing this, I started doing less extra work. And then my manager started complaining, and then they didn't give me a pay rise, and they kept my pay flat during the time when inflation was particularly high a couple of years ago. And I was like, well, I didn't say I'm not getting paid anything extra. I was just like, I'm picking up a lot of extra work for other people. And she's like, well, yeah, you're not doing that anymore, but you should be doing it. And it's just like, I was trying to say in the nicest way possible, I'm not getting paid anything extra. Co-workers are getting good pay and they're getting treated better than me, and they're doing less work and putting in less effort. So this is what I mean. Like, another reason when it comes to these job descriptions, you should just stick to exactly what you need to do. The job descriptions have too many red flags in terms of this team player work ethic type of thing. So just make sure you look out for your best interests. Let's look at the final clip here, and then we're going to see some funny memes.
This is our newest team member's background. He's never worked a real job in his life, but given his tenacity to complete 15 different degrees, I saw the potential in him and took a chance. As a great CEO, you just know when someone's built different. So I love the fact that he just calls himself a great CEO. Look at me. I gave this person an opportunity. A master's degree from Harvard, a master's of business from Stanford, a master's in education from Stanford, a master's in global affairs, a master of science, a doctor of law, a master in finance. As a great CEO, you just got to know when to make moves, I guess. I wonder if the pay is like minimum wage.
So we're going to go through some of these funny memes in a moment, right? But point number 4 is, this system wants you to value all the wrong things, right? They want you to value spending a lot of time in education where you get into more and more debt and you learn things that you could technically learn on the internet for free, right? So you got this pointless level of additional education that puts you in more and more debt and means you're more and more dependent on your job. There's no talent being built over actual skills. Building skills through work is more important than whatever you could learn in a textbook at your university. Then the other thing would be, there's the same thing with this kind of type of girl power, girl boss, DEI nonsense, right? Everything's about appearances. It's about perception and not reality, right? So if you parrot the right opinions, if you have the Harvard degree on your CV, that matters more than your ability to do a good quality job. Now we're going to look finally at these last couple funny memes, right? So here we've got one, nobody wants to work anymore, right? And that's what people see. But beneath the surface, why don't people want to work anymore? They don't want to get low pay, which is this $12 an hour. They don't want to get this low pay, which is $12 an hour. They don't want to spend time at pointless work events after work, at pizza parties and things like that. They don't want to believe, they're smart enough to believe that the workplace isn't a family, even if they have this type of family propaganda at the workplace. They don't want to, work at places where they have to work extra hours and they just find out the day before. They don't want low pay rises. They want actual workplace benefits like healthcare and things like that. And they don't want to work jobs where they're told to work full time when it's technically part-time hours. So these are all the type of things where people are just getting fed up with the state of things, right? And that it makes sense, right? People want to be treated with dignity. And there's another funny variation of this meme. Nobody wants to work anymore. And why is that? So nobody wants to work anymore because wages don't keep up with the cost of living. They have record company profits, but people don't get raises. And then employees are treated like garbage. So this is the reality. Maybe the first one, in terms of salary price points of $12 an hour, that's more people working in maybe fast food restaurants, real retail work. And this is more aimed at everyone, particularly people working in office jobs where companies have record profits and then there's no raises for the salary. Employees are treated like garbage. You're expected to work extra hours in the evening, tolerate double standards in hiring and promotions on the basis of DEI and stuff like that. And the salary increase is a joke. The benefits are a joke. People just don't want to keep participating in this system. So, working hard is for losers. And why would I say that? As someone who's worked for over 10 years at top financial firms, as someone who offers career advice, people would think, well, why would a career coach say that? I'm telling you, you have to look out for your best interest. You have to maneuver and outsmart these rigged, biased companies. And there's all sorts of strategies to do that. And that's something I can help you with through my career coaching service. There's a link in the description. We can have a chat and I can talk with you for over an hour and we can try and find a solution to help you navigate this type of scenario, because working hard is not going to pay off. It's not going to get you that promotion quicker necessarily, and it's not going to get you better treatment from your co-workers and your manager. You have to be able to outsmart them, and that's a very tricky game, particularly when the economy is doing bad and people are really struggling with their career and financial growth and success. So I hope you found that video helpful. Hopefully it gave you a bit of clarity that you're not the only one dealing with this type of situation. There's 5 different reasons why people don't want to work hard, and working hard is for losers. Link in description if you want to chat with me directly. 2 recommended videos on your screen right now, and I'll see you in the next video.